Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Heinz Ketchup, and Kraft Singles. Every good burger needs a layer of perfectly melty cheese and thick, rich ketchup. We all know it's not a cookout without Heinz and Kraft.
The mayor's office, and I'm sorry, the commissioner too, right, do not have the experience to do this, right?
That's Mayor Mamdani and Jessica Tisch, who's the police commissioner.
I mean, they have never managed anything like this before, and it's like peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's coming out the sides. And, you know, I think that's part of it. We're seeing a lot of fear from the mayor's office, a lot of anxiety. They're sitting there trying to say, well, we're big Knicks fans, but they're not Knicks fans.
He called the Garden a stadium. How big a Knicks fan is he?
He's not a Knicks fan.
We're winning all right. That was part of the interview that my man Craig Carton did with Knicks owner Jim Dolan, Knicks and Ranger owner Jim Dolan yesterday. Craig and C-Mac on the fan, and I've texted Craig about 10 times. I thought he did a magnificent job, and we are honored for the second time this week to have the aforementioned Hall of Fame radio voice, Craig Carton, with us on WABC this morning. Craigie, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, not much of a voice left after last night. And probably in my lifetime, your lifetime, got to go down as arguably the single greatest sports moment we've had.
No, it's right there. Like, I said this morning, I was in the stadium after Whitney Houston sang the national anthem and Norwood missed that field goal, Super Bowl 25, Giants-Bills. Certainly the ground ball that Mookie Wilson hit that went underneath Bill Buckner's legs. Those are all part of it. But this one, David Tyree's catch. But you're right, this one, 29-point comeback. But I want to start, before we get back to the game, with your conversation yesterday. First of all, I know Dolan likes you. That's a great get, Craig. You're the only guy that can get Dolan in New York on game day, so congratulations. The only part of the interview, which I thought was magnificent, you did an amazing job, where I really couldn't figure it out is, I'm not exactly sure if you guys are watching the news or not, but this idea that Knicks fans have been good and behaved and deserve outdoor watch parties. There have now been arrests 3 consecutive game nights, and it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. 2 of those nights, Game 2 San Antonio, Game 4 New York, the Knicks won, and there are still people getting arrested. So I hate to break it to Jim Dolan, but I said this yesterday, they should cancel these parties. New York is starting to look like Los Angeles and Detroit or Uganda or Gaza. We don't deserve it, Craig. I'm sorry.
Look, there have been obviously issues at watch parties, not just the watch party at the Garden, the one in Bryant Park. Obviously, a couple of nights ago, it was hard to look at, and the behavior of, a couple hundred people was disgusting and a bad look for New York. I'm not sure that's what Jim was talking about yesterday. What he was talking about yesterday was kind of twofold. One, the fact that they continue to have basically a frozen zone in New York City where they closed off the city from 29th Street up to 35th Street, north and south, and 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue, east and west. Now, when they did that on Monday night, the reason they gave us was because the Secret Service wanted it for the protection of the president. Well, while none of us may have wanted it, we could certainly respect that. There have been assassination attempts on the president, and it's every city's duty to make sure when a visiting president comes into town that he's safe. But then we find out yesterday that the Secret Service never requested that, and it came from the mayor's office. So I think the first thing that Jim was concerned about or pissed about was that why are we shutting down the city again with such a wide swath of the shutdown when the president's not in town, and this city has in the past shown an ability to protect its citizens when there's large gatherings of people. The second part was this specific watch party at the Garden. Mayor Mamdani is not a fan of the Knicks, and he is not a fan of these gatherings of Knicks fans. He's trying to stop it, much like he's trying to replace Jessica Tisch as the police commissioner, and probably will before the end of this year. So the question became, yes, we've had some misdemeanor arrests. We've had some property damage. It's not a good look. But when you talk about the breadth of how many people are gathering versus how many of these knuckleheads are causing a problem, why did the mayor try to take credit for a 1,000-person watch party that now, out of the blue, required a ticket to attend when Madison Square Garden has had thousands of people there at every single Knicks game this postseason? And yes, some small incidents for sure, but not what we saw in Bryant Park. So I think there was a conflation of two different issues on the show yesterday.
Fair enough. That's a very good explanation. Great job, Craig. Thank you for that. Jim Dolan with Craig Carton yesterday, and you mentioned the fact that he's not a Knicks fan. I've been railing about this since the Atlanta Hawks series. I've been tweeting every time the Knicks win. This moron who, as you said yesterday to Jim Dolan, thinks we play basketball games in stadiums. No dick base. We play basketball games in arenas. And the governor, that idiot who thought we won a championship in 1993 when it was 1973, the both of them, and I know Hochul wasn't mentioned yesterday with you and Dolan, but she's every bit as guilty as the mayor. She goes on Twitter, way to go, New York, we're fighters. Shut up. You think either one of them ever heard of Rory Sparrow or Eddie Lee Wilkins or Mike Newland or Johnny Newman? I am so sick and tired, Craig, of the mayor and the governor. They're liars. It was so great to hear you and Jim both call out the mayor for not being a Knicks fan.
Well, not just that. Look, you don't have to be a Knicks fan. I don't think he's a basketball fan either. I've had people, high up in the administration and with the police department tell me he hates basketball. I think you're going to see a much different mayor now that the World Cup starts today because he's a huge soccer fan. And I think you'll see that his tact when it comes to watch parties for the World Cup, which is not a single game being played in the city of New York or any one of the 5 boroughs. I think you'll see a much different city hall when it comes to that. But look, politicians do this all the time, right? I mean, whether it's the governor, whether it's the mayor, all of a sudden they recognize that there's an opportunity to try to reach potential voters down the line by pretending to be, into a major sporting event. Now, I can tell you in my lifetime or recent lifetime, Governor Patterson was a legitimate Met fan, and he would go to Met games. Rudy Giuliani was a legitimate Yankee fan. He was a fixture at Yankee Stadium. Mayor de Blasio was not a sports fan, didn't go to many sporting events. So I think for us as New Yorkers, we can spot a fraud a mile away. There have been some politicians, governors, and mayors who are huge sports fans and wear it on their sleeve. My dear friend, I know you're not a big fan, Chris Christie, diehard sports fan.
Yeah. But you may be a diehard sports fan, but good old Fatso there is in New Jersey. He not be rooting for you're rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, come on, what is that all about?
Right. But the point is, his fandom is legitimate.
True.
Right? We didn't question whether or not he was a fan and knows the sport. But you give a politician a chance to jump into a good time, they'll find a way to mess it up. No doubt about it.
Yeah, you make a very good point there, too. And it is about the voters.
I'll give you one other thing. So I get a call yesterday. There's a pizza chain in New York City called Bravo Pizza. There's about 6 or 7 of them throughout Manhattan. I don't know about the other boroughs, but I know they're in Manhattan. And there's a Bravo Pizza on 30th and 8th. That place was counting on last night to do 2 or 3x their normal business and pay their rent for the next couple months. Nobody went in last night because of the lockdown. And somebody needs to explain to New Yorkers why we are locking down 6 city streets and 3 city avenues when there's no reason to shut them down. I don't understand that at all.
All right, I want to go back. It's a fair question. I did not like the fact that he went after Jessica Tisch. I think she's doing the best she can. Like you said, the mayor doesn't really like her, but he knew that he needed her to try to keep a semblance of safety in this city. Plus, it looks good that a Jew-hating lowlife like him actually has a Jewish police commissioner. But I think she's doing the best she can under very difficult circumstances. So I thought Dolan was a little tough on Jess. But I do want to play this cut, too. You're funny, Craig. You're trying to get my guy Trump in trouble here. This is Craig Carton with Jim Dolan yesterday on the fan. And Craig brings up President Trump. Lewis, cut number 1.
May have looked like he shut his eyes for a long period of time during one part of that game.
I was with him the whole time.
He did not fall asleep.
We were talking the whole time.
I'm just
maybe he was sleep talking. He wasn't. He was very much awake. He was very much engaged.
Okay.
Right. Look. That's the first sitting president of the United States to ever go to an NBA Finals. That is a huge honor, right? And he's a New Yorker. And whatever you think about him, he's a Knicks fan, and people don't want to hear this. I think he's a great guy. And I love.
And you've known him a long time,
right? I've known him for over 30 years, but I'm not going to go on this show and start espousing the president. I'll just say that having him there was a great honor, right? And and I enjoyed sitting with him, right? And he asked me a lot of questions.
Were you guys talking basketball?
Yeah, we're talking basketball.
To be a fly on that wall. That'd be great.
He knows basketball.
All right, so no, he wasn't asleep. And, of course, you heard all the ridiculous. And these guys were being serious. At least they claim they were. I think Stephen A. Smith got the attention he garnered because President Trump called him a box of rocks, said his IQ was so low he could never run for office. And Stephen A. Smith was so happy the president mentioned him, he didn't care about the content. But whether it was Stephen A. or Max Kellerman or Spike Lee, they blamed President Trump for the Game 3 loss. And Stephen A. texted me, Craig, I swear to you, 2 hours before the game yesterday, and said, if we lose tonight, it's still Trump's fault, which was some of the dumbest and silliest commentary ever. But it was nice to hear Jim Dolan say nice things about the president.
Yeah, look, you know how it is. You do it every single day. I don't. From a talk show standpoint, you can't talk politics in this country. You can't talk about Trump, good or bad, in this country. But, a lot of these guys, and I think we probably do it in a different way, it's all performative. Like, there's nobody that can come out and say that a human being sitting in a luxury suite 150 feet away from the court of play is now singularly responsible for the outcome of a game. Like, what are we doing? But I also respect it. If the idea is to get attention for yourself and get clicks, maybe get more viewers, we all try to do it. And that's what Stephen A. did. He's great at it. But it's performative, like his fandom, in my opinion. It's performative. But as a guy that performs, I respect it. He moves the needle. So all good. But, the focus today, in my opinion, should not be about what the mayor did or the police department or even the lockout of that part of New York City. It should be the fact that we are all blessed not to be in Sid Rosenberg's company, which I know is an amazing gift that we all get every day. But we should feel blessed that we got to see one of the most amazing historical sporting events in the history of this great city of ours. You talked about 86, Game 6, a night that they did not win the World Series, and obviously, because they needed Game 7. I think that's the best comparison because the Mets were left for dead. There's no chance they're going to come back. The Red Sox are going to win the World Series. And all of a sudden, Gary Carter with a single, Kevin Mitchell, and Ray Knight, and Mookie Wilson with the dribbler. And we all sat there, and Gary Thorne, I thought, said it best in that broadcast, stunned disbelief was his call when he interrupted the great Bob Murphy. And that's how I viewed last night.
Yeah, you're right. One more for you, and a very good point in that, the Mets did not win the World Series that night. They had a beat on a Monday night, the Red Sox in a Game 7, and I know that because I was in my basement in Brooklyn, and at the time I had a 9-inch black and white Sony Watchman. You can't make this up. And I was watching Mets Game 7 and the Giants and the Redskins on Monday Night Football. That was the year the Giants went on and beat John Elway and the Broncos in the Super Bowl. And don't forget, the Mets fell behind 3-0 to the Red Sox in Game 7. They still win. Is there any scenario, Craig, where the Knicks don't win any of these 3, if it gets that far, 3 remaining games?
No, I don't think so. And look, they played like crap. That was the worst half of basketball they've played in a very, very long time. But this team's got something that championship teams have, right? And it's something that we've never seen before from the Knicks or any team in the last 25 years. I thought last night was the single most important and biggest New York City sporting event this century. Because, the Yankees, of course, in the World Series in 2009, which game at the Yankee Stadium that year was like this. They weren't any. The New York Giants Super Bowl run in 2011, they barely had home games, that postseason. And I think last night's OG Anunoby tip-in ranks right up there with the Jim Layer's home run, with the Mookie Wilson dribbler, with the David Tyree catch. And I think there's going to be about 50 million people that'll claim to their grandkids, I was in the building the night that OG Anunoby chipped that Jalen Brunson miss in and got the Knicks one step away from a championship. And I'm loving it. We deserve it. It was awesome, and I feel blessed to have been alive to witness it myself.
Well said. Jim Leyritz listening right now. He's driving to O.J. Anderson's golf tournament. He's thrilled that you just mentioned him. And
because he texted me. He said, don't forget that. He texted me a half hour ago, and I love Jimmy, and I played in that golf tournament. It's a great tournament as well. And he goes, oh, Anunoby just joined the club. Right, and I go, what club? He goes, my club.
Right, and then he went on to mention David Tyree, right?
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Hey, listen, I know everybody wants to talk to you today. Again, Craig, congratulations. That was a really great interview you did with Dolan yesterday, and I appreciate you coming out with me not once but twice this week. Like I say, I mean this. You're the best in the business, so thanks for this morning. You were terrific, Craig. Thank you so much.
Today should be a lot of fun for all of us, so let's enjoy the win and not let all the other negativity around it, color what is a great New York moment, and hopefully we can just all enjoy it in peace. But today's a day where it should be fun coming into New York City today, and I'm right at the Lincoln Tunnel right now. Today should be a fun day.
I agree. The great Craig Carton. That's why he's a Hall of Famer, folks. Afternoons on WFAN with C-Mac. Great guy, tremendous talent. Craig, thank you so much. I love you, pal.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?